Hello, and welcome to the Paranormal Operator Podcast, where we talk about all manner of things that go bump in the night. Here, we discuss sightings, investigations, news, and popular media surrounding the paranormal, supernatural, and occult phenomena. So settle in as we search for the truth. I am your host, Adam, Operator 23. In today's episode, a letter from Representative Burchett to the Intelligence Community Inspector General, the worst reaction to a question about UAPs since the Phoenix Lights, a UAP sighting by a major airline pilot, a possible UAP captured on camera over Cirencester, England, space weather, connecting Bigfoot with missing cattle, some science to possibly debunk a haunting, and upcoming events. Ufology news and sightings. Our first article today comes from the website of Congressman Tim Burchett. He is a representative from the state of Tennessee. His website address is up here at the top. You can see burchett.house.gov. And it's pretty easy to find. It's right here on the front page of his website. And in fact, on his media ticker, it is the first article. So we have Representative Burchett launches UAP caucus, leads letter to Intelligence Community Inspector General about UAP retrieval programs. And here we have the official press release. This is the whole of it right here. It's not very much at all, but it's enough, I would suppose. You see it is dated August 22nd of this year. And essentially it outlines that on July 26th of this year, David Grush, who is a former Air Force veteran and former intelligence officer, came before Congress under oath testifying about the UAP phenomena, and was unable to give specific details regarding UAP crash retrieval or reverse engineering programs, due to the fact that the details regarding those programs are classified. Now, during the hearing, he was asked specifically if he would be able to divulge these details if they were in a secure area such as a skiff. And I believe he answered in the affirmative, although I can't quite remember. I think he did. At any rate, Congressman Burchett put in the record that he had requested the use of a skiff for this very purpose, and he was unfortunately denied the use of the skiff. So, kind of interesting that that would happen. But also, during the hearing, he stated that he, along with some of his other colleagues, would author a letter to the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community. So, that letter was written the day before this press release, and we can find down here, there is a link to that letter. I have it queued up for us. And you can see, official Congress of the United States is dated August 21st, addressed to the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community. Now, you can read this on your own if you'd like. Essentially, it goes through what I just told you. The part about them being denied access to the skiff is not in here. That doesn't really pertain to them asking the Inspector General these questions. But basically, Grush came, he couldn't answer our questions because stuff's classified. Here are my questions specifically to you, and they are: which intelligence community members, positions, facilities, military bases, or other actors are involved with UAP crash retrieval programs, directly or indirectly, or who might be involved in UAP reverse engineering programs? Now, that list is going to be quite long, if in fact it is ever handed over or disclosed at all. So, when can we look for this? to happen, if anything, in fact, does happen? Well, in the last paragraph here, I have highlighted 2 dates, September 15th and September 26th of this year. Well, the first date is basically asking for a response, and that could simply be, okay, yeah, I got your letter, thanks, and then nothing else. The second date, September 26th, is basically if the information is classified and we need a secure setting so we can talk about this, we can arrange that, but let's do it by September 26th, because presumably it takes a little bit longer to actually reserve that space and then use it. So, what's going to happen? Well, probably nothing. I would be willing to wager that there is not going to be any kind of report. There's not going to be any kind of briefing. They're going to say, I'm sorry, sir, we cannot tell you. It's of national security. Which is ridiculous. Because they're Congress. Like, they are the top of the top. Right? But that's probably the gist of what's going to happen. Now, Burchett, in previous interviews, has stated he feels like he's being stonewalled by people in the Pentagon, as well as possibly people in Congress. So, he understands that this is really an uphill battle, but he's still willing to fight it. Down here, we have 6 members of Congress. Of course, we have the usual suspects, Burchett, Moskowitz, and Luna, as well as 3 other folks, Nancy Mace, Eric Burlinson, and then Andy Ogles. So, 6 Congress people signed a letter to the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community asking him very specific, very sensitive questions, and we shall see what comes of it. But I am rather skeptical that either one of these dates will actually be met. Our next article comes from the Debrief, which is a website and a newsletter that I can say it's well worth a subscription to. So this article is about Chris Christie, entitled Questions About Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Enter the 2024 Presidential Race, and it is dated August 24th. So here we have the man himself, Chris Christie. He was the former governor of New Jersey, and during the Republican debate the other day, he was asked about UFOs. Now, this is quite a very good article, and it goes into the question that he was asked, as well as why his response fell so flat, and then also a history of candidates being asked similar questions, and what recent presidential administrations have done on the subject. We're not going to go through the whole article because I would really like you to read their stuff. So we're just going to cover really kind of the first part here, and that is, quote, I got the UFO question? So, coming down here, we have basically, it's that time of year. So we have the first round of debates for the 2024 presidential cycle. And, of course, the UAP topic is going to come up, right? It's a huge topic. People are talking about it. They're blogging about it, like yours truly. And it's in the public sphere. It's in the zeitgeist of the world. People around the world are talking about these things. And, well, they had 8 candidates. And of those people who had questions, I'm not sure if he's the only one who responded or got this question. But at any rate, he was asked, okay, well, what about UAPs? And his response is, quote, I get the UFO question, end quote. That was his initial reaction. And he was asked by a Fox News anchor. So, not the best way to start off a response. So we have another quote here. We've been hearing a lot of testimony in Congress, and people are taking this a lot more seriously, and we're hearing that there are things going on that people aren't aware of, end quote. and that's coming from the Fox News correspondent, and apparently there was laughter and commotion in the audience. Of course, people are skeptical. I get that. But at least half of the population believes somewhat in UFOs. Quote, so, if you were president, Governor Christie, would you level with the American people about what the government knows about these possible encounters? End quote. That's a legitimate question, I would say. Because I know Trump was asked, and I don't know if Biden was asked. I know Obama was asked. And going back, people have asked this question. It's a legit question. So, his response, especially coming from a woman from New Jersey, that's a little sexist. It is horrible that just because I am from New Jersey, you ask me about unidentified flying objects and Martians. Now, I encourage you to look up the video, because I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. But, I'm sorry, his tone when he said that, to me, was very, as a believer in the supernatural, paranormal, all that stuff, it just seemed really condescending. Like, don't be a prick, all right? You want people to like you, you want them to elect you, and you can't answer this straightforward question without being coy. So, let's see. The next thing we have, we are different, but we are not that different. That's a quote coming from Christie. That's basically saying, oh yeah, I'm from New Jersey and we're weird, but we're not that weird. It's just, his, I guess you could say, a more appropriate response would be, quote, the job of President of the United States is to level with the American people, which I can agree with him so far, about everything. Maybe not absolutely everything, but close to everything, I would say. The job is to stand for truth. The job is to be a role model for our children and grandchildren. Whether it was UFO or this problem of education, I stated this in 2010, going after the teachers' unions and drove them down to a low popularity rating because they were putting themselves before our kids. That is the biggest threat to our country, not UFOs. End quote. So, I might tend to agree that the problems of education are way larger than, UAPs or UFOs in the sky, merely because if they wanted to incinerate us, there would be nothing we could do to stop them. So if they were going out on a limb and saying that, yes, these are extraterrestrial beings, if they had hostile intent, we would already know about it. Because we would be subjugate to that intentions. So, I don't think they're hostile. I also think some of them are probably our guys. But that's neither here nor there. The whole point of it is, yes, education is very important, but also you don't have to elevate one cause at the expense or joking toward another, which a lot of people take seriously. I mean, there are people in the halls of Congress asking questions about the UAP subject. It's not really that much of a laughing matter anymore. At least, it's becoming less of a laughing matter, perhaps. Now, while I would agree that education is super important, he is speaking from the role of a governor, and I have to fly my political flag here for just a moment and say, if this man believes that the Department of Education should be a legit thing for the federal government, he's not a Republican. There are 29 things in the Constitution Congress is allowed to do. Governing education is not one of them. And don't give me that preamble crap. It lists, for the general welfare and all that other stuff. No, that's a preamble. There's an actual list of 29 things. Completely enumerated. And it says enumerated. That Congress can do. Education's not listed there. So, if they want to pass an amendment, go for it. But until then, Department of Education needs to be completely abolished because it is unconstitutional. When I told my she wasn't really admissions. My guidance counselor in college, I can't remember what we called her, that I couldn't accept funds from the federal government because it was unconstitutional, because they were illegally acquired. She looked at me like I was crazy. Maybe I am. But that still is beyond the point. As the president, you don't need to be worrying about domestic problems. You need to be worrying about foreign problems. Because 80% of what Congress and the government is supposed to do is foreign, not domestic. That's what the states are for. So if he did, in fact, run down the popularity of the teachers' unions, I applaud him to no end. Thank you, sir. You did, apparently, as you say, a great job. But I hope maybe next time he'll take this question a little bit more seriously if he does, in fact, continue on his campaign. So I want to draw an analogy, and it doesn't bring it up here, I guess probably because it's a presidential race and not something, lower or a different tier. But for those of you who remember the Phoenix Lights, the governor of Arizona actually came out and did a press conference where he pulled some similar stunt. And a lot of people took offense to that, and I really seriously hope that if people are taking offense to this, they let their voices heard. And, just reach out to him. Don't harass him. Obviously, you don't harass anybody. But let him know. Maybe what you said was a little uncouth. Maybe you need to dial it back and kind of read the room, because if you don't know that this is an important topic to a fairly broad section of your voting base, maybe you shouldn't be president. So, if you're listening and you want to respond to Christie's replies, I'm sure he's pretty easy to find. But again, no harassment. Our first UFO article is actually a Twitter post. This particular Twitter post was published August 18th of this year, and it was released by Ryan Graves, who was one of the people to testify before Congress July 26th. So, we have, quote, oh, and this is a story that's been relayed to him from a commercial airline pilot. Quote, I am a major U.S. carrier, A320-321 captain. The following sighting occurred during one of my flights recently. Since I have shared my story, several other major U.S. carrier pilots have reached out to me and shared their similar experiences, including sharing their video recordings of these objects from the flight levels, all seen at the base of the Big Dipper. Well, that's interesting. It gives us a good frame of reference where to look. Last week of July 2023, I departed Santo Domingo, DR at 23:05 hours, destined for New York JFK, so JFK Airport. My route of flight was L453 in NY Oceanic airspace, non-radar, hundreds of miles offshore. At approximately 1 hour into the flight, we were approaching the southern boundary of the New York Oceanic airspace, and at 32,000 feet, I called out a visual on traffic that was exceedingly bright and looked like about 80 miles range. Now I'm going to just say, just for the record, he might be right, but he also might be very wrong. It's near impossible to tell distance without a frame of reference. Scientifically speaking, we can't say whether it was 80 miles unless there was radar contact or something else that could gauge the distance. And then disappeared visually. I never saw the traffic on TCAS, which is the radar. Then a few minutes later, I saw two objects, round in shape, one lighted and one not, flying in a formation just above the horizon at an angle, I guess, of 120 to 200 nautical miles. At a range, I guess, of 120 to 200 nautical miles. The objects would illuminate to be as bright as a star for several seconds, then go dark for a few minutes, only to illuminate again. The brightness would vary from bright to very bright to dark. The color of the lighted object was white light. There was a second object you can clearly see in the photos that would follow the illuminated object, but it would not illuminate itself. Except for the 310 to 330 second point of view of my video, I think you can see the second object illuminate. This went on for the remaining 2 to 2.5 hours of my flight to New York on L453 in oceanic airspace. After reviewing the photos, I think the objects might have been a bit further away, but distance is very difficult to gauge at night. I have the brand new Samsung S23 phone, which has the best camera on the market for a cell phone, and I started recording this object in video. I have a great 7-minute video of it appearing and disappearing while I was talking to other airliners on 123.45 VHF, which is very high frequency, about it. You can hear that conversation in the video. Unfortunately, you can't. Or at least I can't. Another airline approximately 400 nautical miles ahead of us at 36,000 feet stated they saw the same thing. I also took about 30 photos of the object in, quote, night mode on the phone, and they came out really good. In one of them, you can actually see the lighted object and the unlit object very clearly as round metallic objects. All of the photos were taken with some sort of long exposure setting to be able to get as much light as possible to the sensor. You will be able to see in the long exposure photos, the stars are pins of light, but the UFOs are streaks of light because they are moving. It is actually amazing. All of this happened over about 2.5 hour, flight, and continued for the entirety of our flight. The light seems to be on or just above the horizon until we got closer to our destination of New York. Just prior to beginning our descent, the objects appeared much higher in the sky, 80 to 90 degrees above the horizon, and much farther away, actually out of the atmosphere. So that's pretty cool that this guy was able to take the video and then show it to us. So I have the video here, and I do have the volume on, but for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be actually coming over my speakers. So there we can see one object coming in and out of frame. You can kind of see at the bottom, those white things, I believe, are probably clouds. So, 32,000 feet, it's pretty high. And if we zoom ahead to one, so you can see the thing kind of bobbing around. I think that's more the steadiness of the camera, some more than it is the object actually moving. But if we come to 115-ish, nope, we get a shot of the control panel. And so we see, yep, flight is level, they're not banking, the altitude is what he says it is, there's his heading, time, etc. So it's interesting. Apparently this was taken from an airplane And it does appear to be in the sky. Whether these two shots could be edited together, maybe. But it seems pretty legit. So, anyway, let's see. He said 3:10, so we'll skip ahead to that. And this video it's 7.5 minutes long. And almost all of it is in complete darkness, just like this. So there's the one object. This kind of comes in and then fades to black. Still can't really see a second object. It's very bright. That's for certain sure. Maybe it went behind a cloud, I think, just then. So, it is an interesting video. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. If you want to watch it, it is on Twitter. Should be pretty easy to find. If you come to Ryan Graves' page, and again, this was published on August 18th. So, if we scroll down here, we can see some of the pictures of the incident. And so, presuming these pictures were taken with the actual night mode. So, there's the thing. It's amazing how much light was actually picked up by this thing. And there he said it was streaking, so there's, looks like two objects streaking dead ahead of them. There's another one. Now this one is interesting because clearly there is an object there, and I don't know if that is a streak. Maybe, something coming from the camera itself, or if that's a propulsion trail. Because it could be that. Just thinking outside the box, maybe. Or rather, I guess, inside the box. So, those are really good pictures. And, the audio was removed for privacy. So, yeah. Have a look at it. See what you think. You think it's real? You think it's fake? I am leaning toward it being real just because, it's coming from who it's coming from. So, that's our, one of our sightings. Our second sighting for today comes from the Gloucestershire Live. And it is entitled, or at least the article is titled, Mystery as UFO hovers above Codsworth's, then flies upward and turns red. And this particular article was published August 21st. So right off the bat, we have this first image of something fuzzy in the clouds above Cirencester. Quote, a married couple has been left baffled and searching for answers after they took photographs of a picturesque Codswold's town and found a UFO in two of the images, end quote. So, Cotswolds is a region, and Cirencester, however you would like to say it, is the actual town. So, quote, the two pictures were taken quickly, and the UFO is seen hovering above the building. It then heads upward and turns red. They are hoping someone will provide answers to their questions. What is it? They wondered if it could have been a large drone, but they are not convinced that is the answer, end quote. So just looking at the picture, we have this image, which does appear to be cropped. And then we have this image. So in this image, we have the contrail line over here, and we have the cloud in the background, and then, of course, the building and the light post. And then in this one, we're in a different vantage point. So there's no light post. And now there's 2 contrails. So that makes me kind of think how much time has gone past that a whole second contrail has appeared. Alright. 1 contrail. There's not one over here. Unless it's that. But I don't think it is, because that looks like it's on a different heading. And then here. I don't think that would be in the same frame as that one. That looks new. That one looks like it's been there a minute. So I don't think these 2 photos were taken back to back. Also, I would like to point out that I feel confident in saying, because of this little streak right here and this reflection, that this photo was taken through a windshield. So I'm not saying that this is something that's on the windshield. I don't think it would be fuzzy and gray like that. But, you know, shooting through a medium such as a windshield or glass will distort things. So this could be who knows what. I don't think it's a UFO, though. Although some people do report their UFOs as being fuzzy or out of focus. So maybe. But again, not only do you have the 2 contrails, but there's no clouds. Like, the clouds have moved on in this direction, it would appear. So it's interesting. The people in question, they wrote to the Gloucestershire Live and said, the husband did, quote, "My wife decided to take some photos as she thought the buildings and town looked nice. She took 2 photos within seconds of each other, and we can't work out what the object is in the background. It looks like a UFO hovers above one building and then shoots upward, turning a reddish color. We sent the pictures to our friends and family to ask what they thought, and all of them said it was peculiar," end quote. I would tend to say that this was very peculiar as well. But I can't get over the fact that the background is so different. Are the buildings the same? So that one's kind of pointy and it's got the roof there. So yeah, it's the same building. I suppose it could be a different perspective, because maybe she's standing like here, but you would still see the contrail lines. And yeah, I don't. Because that cloud, which does have a contrail line going basically through it, but at a different angle, might be that cloud, maybe? I don't know. It's weird. You guys can tell me what you think down in the comment section below. And just as a heads up, even though this article is from current year, the sighting itself was 2018. So it's not necessarily new news, but it's a little something that came up in my news feed. Space weather from spaceweather.com. So the big thing we have here as far as solar activity, we have a coronal mass ejection which is heading for Mars. The, quote, mysterious explosion described below has hurtled a CME toward Mars, and a NASA model suggests it will hit the red planet on September 1st. The impact will probably spark ultraviolet auroras on Mars and erode a small amount of the planet's atmosphere. So it looks like we dodged one this time. So M is for mystery. So M is also a class of solar flare. Earth-orbiting satellites detected an M1 class solar flare on August 26th, so that was yesterday, but we're not sure what caused it. Here is the spray of debris flying up from the blast. So we have this right here, And I don't see what satellite this was from. It's probably from the GOES. At any rate, we had an M1 class solar flare yesterday, and luckily the CME is going to pass us right by and hit Mars. Sorry, Mars. Coming down to our near-Earth asteroids. Let's see, today, well, yesterday was the 26th, and so we're going to look to the 2nd. So, let's see here. We got quite a few things coming at us. So we got the 26th coming down to the 2nd. Well, there's quite a few asteroids that'll be coming toward us. Most of them look like they won't be too very close. Looks like 3.3 lunar distance is going to be the closest one. And that's going to be asteroid 2023 QD2. It's going to be swinging by August 29th. Again, that's going to be at a distance of 3.3 lunar distance. It's only 15 meters in diameter, so it's not terribly big, but it's big enough it'd ruin your day. The next closest is going to be 3.9 lunar distance, passing the same day. And then, let's see, so today we missed one 4.6 lunar distance, and another one at 4.3 lunar distance. But again, these are kind of small. 15, 12, 14, 13 meters in diameter. Again, you wouldn't want to get hit by it or be anywhere nearby when it went off. So, it looks like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 that are going to be coming within 5 lunar distance. So if you're not familiar with what lunar distance is, it's basically the distance from us to the moon. Most people say it's 250,000 miles. That's pretty rough round figures. It's actually 239,000 miles ish. But coming down here, 30th through September 2nd, doesn't look like anything. But today and the 29th, we'll have a few near-Earth objects passing us by. And speaking of celestial objects passing us by, here is our meteor activity outlook from the American Meteor Society. They always have really cool pictures. People submit stuff to them all the time. And if, by chance, you spot one of these fireballs, report it. Because as a MUFON investigator, you're trained to look at this website, come to these people, because they are one of the largest networks for people to report fireballs. And I mean, they're kind of freaky if you ever see one in person. I've been lucky enough to see a couple. And if you didn't know what it was, you would probably assume that, in fact, it was a UFO. So, during this period, that is from the 25th to March 1st, the moon reaches its fullest phase on Thursday, August 31st, which means that you're going to have a lot of light. So if the sun's up, or the moon's up rather, you're not going to be able to see much. This weekend, the waxing gibbous moon will set during the early morning hours, providing a small window of opportunity to view dark skies between moonset and dawn. The estimated hourly rates for evening observers this week will be near 2. And that is for mid-latitude, mid-northern latitude, and 2 as seen from tropical locations. For morning observers, the estimated total hourly rates will be near 13. That's not bad. As seen from northern latitudes, and only 8 from tropical latitudes. Evening rates are reduced due to moonlight. The actual rate seen will also depend on factors such as personal light and motion perception, local weather conditions, alertness, and experience in watching meteor activity. Note that the hourly rates listed below are estimates as viewed from dark sky sites away from urban light sources. Observers viewing from urban areas will see less activity as only brighter meteors will be visible from such locations. So, there you have it. Your best time to go out and see something as far as meteors streaking through the sky is going to be early morning, after sunset, or rather moonset, and then just before sunrise. As far as meteor showers go, we have 2 meteor showers currently active. We have the Perseids, which are active from July 4th through September 1st, so it's probably winding down. It peaked back on August 12th. And then we have several meteor showers to come in probably about the first couple of weeks of November. That one will peak. The Orionids, the Southern Taurids will peak probably around, I'm guessing with those dates, it'll probably be around Halloween, perhaps. And then the Northern Taurids will be peaking sometime in November, it looks like. So, these are your ones to come. And then this one is the one that will be finishing up here pretty soon. Cryptozoology news and sightings. So today's cryptid story comes from 100.9 The Eagle, the Tri-States Classic Rock Station. Now, when I go through and select these different stories, sometimes, well, most of the time, the information comes from a Google alert. And it'll say, oh, here's a story, and here's a story, and that's kind of how I build this all together. I don't know how many different Google search terms I have. Anyway, Google sends me emails with links to all these stories in them, and sometimes I get stories from radio stations, and a lot of times they are garbage, or they're really, really old. This one, however, is not, and it's rather interesting. So the title is Something Huge is Killing Deer and Cattle on Missouri Farmers' Land. And it was published August 19th of this year. Quote, if you're a farmer in Missouri, you know there are many ways that cattle can be attacked by predators. However, there has to be something huge lurking on a Missouri farmer's land due to the sheer number and method that his cattle and deer are being mutilated. So, mutilated. Not just eaten or killed, but mutilated. So, Dave is the guy's name. He's a farmer in Missouri. And apparently one day, some of his cattle just started coming up missing. And not only, even though it says it right there, does this kind of thing happen to his cattle, but also he has found deer near his property that has also been attacked by something big and supposedly violent. Here's where this gets interesting. The YouTube channel Sasquatch Theory has interviewed David and talked to him about his sightings. So, here is a picture from the night. Here is a video clip of aerial footage from the actual farm. And then here is Sasquatch Theory's return to the killing fields. So I actually went on to YouTube, and Sasquatch Theory, I would say definitely give them a subscribe and turn on notifications, because they have pretty decent content, I would say. And they update stuff pretty regular. It's 4 days ago, or 4 hours ago, 3 days ago, 6 days ago. So, it's fairly interesting. Also, my name's Adam, and this guy's name's Adam. So, way to go, Adam. Good job. If we come back and then go to YouTube, you can see that this is not the only video they have on the quote-unquote killing fields. Let's see here. I thought it was the other ones were in their queue, but it doesn't look like it's up there. So let's... Maybe I could spell. That would help. Sasquatch Theory Killing Field. So, oh, it's on a playlist. Maybe that's what it was I was looking for. So yeah, so we have part 1. And see, this one was from 12 days ago. This one, which is part 3, is from a year ago. So there's a 3-parter that was done a year ago, and then they have returned to the killing fields, which they published just, almost a couple weeks. So it's interesting. And look, this one's 2 years ago. Maybe it's older than I thought it was. Anyway, this investigation is a few years old, but it's interesting in that we have so much, investigatory effort going on at this place. So I would definitely say go to their YouTube channel. I'm not sure they have a website or not. Go to their YouTube channel and, subscribe, turn on notifications. Again, I would say that they have a lot of good material. They do have a website. Look at that. There we go. I'll give them a little bit of a plug here. So Sasquatch Theory. Really? Is that what they did? Did they really just steal thing off the... They did. They just stole this guy and... Well, no, it's different. Never mind. I was about to say, that's plagiarism, but it's not. So, yeah. Come onto their website, go to their YouTube channel, like them on Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff, whatever they have on social media. And I don't want to steal all their thunder, so do give it a watch. It is interesting. They got a couple of guys go out into the woods. They have some drone footage. They have probably a dozen trail cams. They do capture a few weird pictures. I don't know if they capture any strange audio. I know they hear a lot of strange audio. But yeah, give them a watch. It's pretty interesting content. You will notice that there are some things that are different. For instance, I've watched, I don't know, probably 6 hours, close to 6 hours of their different videos about the killing field. And I don't think I've ever heard them use the term mutilated. Because to me, mutilated means, it infers something bigger. It infers some kind of intent. And I don't think Bigfoot is out there mutilating cattle. If anything, they're eating the cattle and they're eating the deer. But yeah, here's a shot of the killing field. And of course, you will find all the links and everything in the description below. So do give them a follow and watch their material. I'm sure you will enjoy it. post-biology news and sightings. So this week's post-biology article comes from Parade, entitled, "Skeptics Sound Off After Learning the Scientific Truth Behind Haunted Homes. There may be a scientific explanation behind so-called hauntings, but we are not all convinced." Neither am I. This one was published August 18th of this year, and it's kind of an interesting read. So, we start off a Reddit thread, as most things do on the internet, alleging a scientific reason behind a number of hauntings is gathering steam, but not everyone is convinced by the alleged truth. A post on, quote, "Today I Learned," a subreddit, claims that, quote, "many haunted houses have been investigated and found to contain high levels of carbon monoxide and other poisonous gases, which can cause hallucinations. The carbon monoxide theory explains why haunted houses are mostly older homes, which are more likely to contain aging and defective appliances." So, a lot of people on the thread agreed that the idea did make sense, and the OP credited Wikipedia with the information, but it left plenty of other people in disagreement. Like, that was a leap they didn't want to take. Then there was a page entitled Haunted Houses, and it detailed the number of theories that aim to explain so-called hauntings, including, well, that's a new one, recreational drugs. I feel like if I were on drugs, I would know I was on drugs, but I don't know. I've never been on them. Also, vermin, noisy appliances, and apparently a lot more. But it fails to link out to any sources at all, let alone reputable ones. The entry section on carbon monoxide begins verbatim to the Reddit post and adds that it also makes sense as to, quote, why more hauntings are reported in colder months, end quote. It says it also explains, quote, feelings of being watched, hearing footsteps and voices, seeing ghosts, headaches, dizziness, and sudden death or illness of people or pets, and also strange behavior in pets, such as excessive barking or meowing, end quote. So, now we have a little bit of due diligence. According to John Hopkins, much of that is in line with typical symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. And if you don't have a carbon monoxide detector in your house, please get one. Especially if you have a furnace, because they can give off all kinds of CO. Not CO2, but CO. A lot of your modern fire alarms will actually have CO monitors built into them. I know mine does, and I didn't even know it did. Just a word to the wise, if you strike one of the weatherproof matches, it will give off enough carbon monoxide to make your alarm go off. So, don't use those in your house. So, the CO poisoning symptoms include headaches, dizziness, weakness, nausea, and vomiting, rapid heart rate, shortness of breath, seizures, chest pain, cardiac arrest, loss of hearing, blurry vision, disorientation, loss of consciousness or coma, respiratory failure, and death. Well, I feel like if you had cardiac arrest, you probably would be dead if there was no one there to give you CPR. However, apparently Google does not have any scientific explanations, which points to carbon monoxide. As the same story seems to have been published in the Smithsonian Magazine, which was done back in, or rather, let me see, I want to mess this up. However, the top search results in Google for carbon monoxide as a scientific explanation for hauntings all points to the same story cited by Smithsonian Magazine, originally published in the American Journal of Ophthalmology. That's a new word. In 1921, which documents a family moving into an old house and experiencing supposed, I can't read right now, supposed paranormal activity. They heard mysterious footsteps, disembodied voices, and sometimes felt like someone was pinning them to their beds. Well, I don't know about that last one. That last one sounds like sleep paralysis. I don't think CO would do that. Anyhow, continuing on. At the same time, their houseplants were dying and their children felt weak and experienced headaches. The furnace was reportedly found to be faulty, flooding the house with carbon monoxide. When it was replaced, the so-called hauntings were said to stop. But there's little that pops about other popular hauntings, such as the locations that inspired The Conjuring, and whether they were checked for carbon monoxide levels, or if paranormal investigators on popular shows like Ghost Adventures carry a monitor in addition to the rest of their equipment. I can tell you right now that after, last week's episode of the podcast, I'm going to be including monitors for air quality. Most definitely. Because, mold and mildew are present in a lot of homes, and people just don't know. But they do have deleterious effects as well as apparently carbon dioxide does, which that's something I never even would have thought of had I not found this article. So, continuing on. However, some commenters shared similar experiences. Quote, "This has been my suspicion since I was little," end quote, one admitted. Quoting, "My grandfather's house had supernatural style things happen in it. Most of the things that happened took place in the room that ended up being mine when I moved there. One night I saw something and it totally freaked out. I was around 12, 13. I ended up doing some research to keep myself from being scared and found some books on hallucinations due to gas leaks, etc. I asked my uncle to check because we had a hole in the floor in my room. He didn't find any leaks or anything, but I don't know that he checked well since I was at school when he did that. To this day, I'm convinced that the house had issues which caused hallucinations." Interesting. End quote. And then our last quote we have here, quotes, "I lived in an old house that my friends swore was haunted. Others recalled a similar experience. Quote, I experienced several plagues. Hundreds of flies showed up all at once on a single window. Thousands of fleas appeared out of nowhere one day. And I was also unusually depressed / low energy when I was there, among others. Turned out there was no subflooring, so my house was just sitting above wet dirt, and I had mold poisoning." Okay, end quote. So for now, we'd say this one is still up in the air. Yeah. And I would definitely encourage people out there, if you're going to go and investigate hauntings, definitely pay attention to the air quality. So I know I will be. Because, whenever you do a first aid or a CPR course or anything like that, the number one rule is scene safety. And most people don't think of air quality. So, that is our first article. Our second one is not really an article. It really kind of goes into the events. But seeing as how this is not an annual event, I decided to include it in this section. So, theghostshop.com is having their Sweet 16 celebration. Details will be coming over the next few weeks as we organize this party. You'll want to save the date for a good time with Ghost Shop to break in our new building in downtown Lynchburg, Virginia. It also happens to mark 16 years in business. So, save the date of October 7th, 2023, and get your tickets now. There is limited room. So, 16 years. Good on you, folks. I know that these, when I was, I must have been, I guess, just out of high school. These guys were selling stuff. And I graduated in 2009, so 16 years. That is impressive. So it's going to be 1920s through 40s, spooky, speakeasy kind of theme, period attire, food will be provided, cash bar, there'll be a live band, and it's in downtown Lynchburg, Virginia. So, it looks interesting. I know it's about 3 hours, I think, from me. So, yeah, here's the address. Ghost Shop, 918 Commerce Street, Lynchburg, Virginia. I'm pretty sure it's about 3 hours from where I'm at right now. Otherwise, I would definitely go. Very, very interesting. I would love to support these guys. So, that's it today, or at least this episode for Post Biology. Upcoming events. However, that does lead us right into the events section. So, the events we have coming up, there are several over the next couple of months. We have PhenomenaCon, September 6th through the 9th in Vernal, Utah. Here we have their speakers. We got George Knapp, Ronnie LeBlanc, Russ Accord. Looks like most of the guys from Skinwalker Ranch will be there. Wow, this looks like it's going to be a pretty big event. It's a lot of speakers. So the festivities begin on Wednesday, September 6th. And then they go through Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So, looks like a very interesting event. And again, that is going to be in Vernal, Utah, PhenomenaCon 2023. Then we have the Haunted Savannah Paracon number 2, which will be held in September. Let's see. I know they have the date on here. There we go. September 15th through the 17th. Maybe not the best idea to have it on your media ticker. So, Haunted Savannah Paracon, September 15th through the 17th. If you've never been to Savannah, Georgia, I suggest going. It is a beautiful place. It has a lot of history. Also, Savannah was voted, I know there's one year, it was the most haunted city in the country. I want to say it was the parapsychological organization that had voted it that. So it too will also have various speakers. We have Chip Coffee, Sherry, I'm going to butcher this horribly, Debendetti, and then we also have Katharina Weidman and Heather Taddy. Let's see. And so they're also shown separately as well as together. That's kind of odd. Got a guy from Expedition Bigfoot, Russell Accord, and many others. more than likely I will be at this event. So if you're able to make it, I'd love to meet up with some people there. And it's going to start on the 15th with a haunted mixer and meet and greet with special guests. And then on the 16th is the actual Paracon itself. Let's see if I can... So the location of it will be Savannah Bottle Works at 411 West Carlton Street in Savannah, Georgia. So it's definitely something I'm looking forward to. And again, that's the Haunted Savannah Paracon, September 15th through 17th. We also have the Mothman Festival, which will be the 16th and the 17th. So this is going to go on at the same time. And I'm almost torn between the two, whether I want to go back to Savannah or if I want to come to Point Pleasant. But the Mothman Festival, September 16th through the 17th. You have to pay for parking, although that's okay. You'd have to pay for parking, I think, in Savannah. Although after 5 o'clock, they might not. I don't know. They might have changed it, though. It's been a while since I've been there. So MetaZoo's going to be there. They actually were at a couple of things I've been to so far this year. So we have different attractions and events going all throughout the town. You can partake in. They have guest speakers. Doesn't say who. They have the famous Mothman statue, which is actually pretty cool. I want to take a picture of that thing. They got the TNT area bus tours. They're going to have, it says Ghostbusters. Got, the 501st Legion from Star Wars is going to be there. They got the Mothman Museum. I'd really like to visit that if I were able to go. And then they also have other events and festivals in the town as well. So, vendors. All food and merchandise vendors spots are currently sold out for this year, so hopefully that means they'll have a really good turnout. I mean, look at that picture. That's just packed full of people. Whether you're shopping or selling, thousands of people flock to our charming Main Street for Mothman Festival every year, and stopping by to see what our unique merchandise and food vendors have to offer is usually a priority for thousands of the guests. They have vendors of all types, from artists, authors, merchants, hobbyists, handcrafted artists / boutique owners, food trucks, food carts, food booths, lemonade stands, ice cream trucks, etc. But they all have one idea in common, and that's Mothman and the paranormal, which makes them a perfect fit for our festival. So, we got some Mothman cookies. Look pretty good. Got an artist painting Mothman there. Let's see, and then we have also cosplay. So we got some people dressed as Ghostbusters. Got the 501st. I'm not sure I guess I would call them cosplayers. And then they got the West Virginia and Ohio chapter of the Ghostbusters. I'm kind of curious how that's not copyright infringement. And yeah, feel free to bring your own costume. It's not a bad cap. Blues Brothers, or maybe they're Men in Black. And of course, Bigfoot. Alright, so that's the Mothman Festival, which unfortunately is the same weekend as the Savannah Paracon, September 16th through the 17th. Go away. And let's see, September 30th, we have National Ghost Hunting Day. So, take your significant other out on a haunted tour and, maybe bring a K2 meter and take pictures on your phone. You can also record stuff on your phone for a little EVP session. So, National Ghost Hunting Day, September 30th. Get out, go do something. It's a good excuse for a date night. Next, we have the Exeter UFO Festival, which will be September 2nd through the 3rd. And from all accounts, this seems to be a pretty nice, pretty quaint festival. So the Exeter area Kiwanis are pleased to announce that this year's Exeter UFO Festival is scheduled to take place on Saturday, September 2nd and Sunday, September 3rd, 2023 in Exeter, New Hampshire. The festival is a celebration of all things UFO related and feature a variety of speakers, panels, children's activities, and events. The festival is based on the famous incident at Exeter, which occurred on September 3rd, 1965, in nearby Kensington. At that time, 18-year-old Norman, I'm going to butcher this, Muscarello, reported to the Exeter police his sighting of an unidentified flying object behind a barn in Kensington. As the police investigated the site, they too saw the object hovering where Muscarello had seen it. Headlines nationwide told the story. The rest became history as the police and investigators nationwide tried to determine what young Muscarello saw that night. And it is a very well documented case that you can learn all about. I'll probably be doing a brief on it at some point. So, who all will be speaking? We have Ronnie LeBlanc, who was on Expedition Bigfoot. There's Peter Robinson, Ralph and Deborah Blumenstein, Jennifer Stein, Mark Stevens, Matt Moniz, Keith Seelan, and many others. Here's a small schedule of the speakers. And this is a 2-day event. And also, the police will be selling a special patch. That's their normal Exeter police patch, but in the middle, instead of having their regular logo, they actually have a green alien doing the peace sign. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right. Next, we have the Bigfoot Base Camp Weekend in Perrysville, Ohio. That's going to be October 5th through the 8th. So a Thursday through a Sunday. Thursday, they're going to have a VIP dinner with Matt Moneymaker. On Friday, they're going to have a BFRO investigators panel, as well as there will be the Nature Center open and guided hikes and a campfire to enjoy. On Saturday, they're also going to have the Nature Center. They're going to have some kind of craft at the Welcome Center. You will have special appearances by Matt Moneymaker. They're going to teach you how to do plaster casting for Bigfoot prints. And they're going to have a Bigfoot pontoon tour. You can also learn how to tie-dye some t-shirts. And then they're going to have author presentations. Each presentation will share for 45 minutes. Presenter will share for 45 minutes and then have 15 minutes for questions. Speakers include Dr. Russ Jones, Charles Kimbrough, and Bo Mills. I actually met her, Bo Mills. She's pretty cool. They're also going to be showing some leave no trace principles. Very useful if you're going to be out in the woods. And then also Matt Moneymaker is going to have a town hall later that evening. Sunday, they're going to teach some survival skills. They're going to go on a tracking hike. And also, the Nature Center will still be open. Also, I didn't meet him, but I did see him at the last, Matt Moneymaker at the last event I was at. So, October 5 through the 8th, Bigfoot Base Camp Weekend. And that's going to be in Perrysville, Ohio. 2 more. We got the 2023 Halifax Paranormal Symposium, which will be in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So this one's in Canada. The date, October 7. Now, this is a scientific event, so I would imagine there's probably not going to be a lot of touristy kind of things, more of a let's get down to hard facts and hard numbers. But it's going to be held at the Halifax Tower Hotel and Conference Center, which is located at 15 Lakelands Boulevard, Halifax, Nova Scotia, October 7th, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And they have guests who are going to be Kim Moser from Eastlinks Haunting, Daryl Walsh from AMI's Sightseers, Nova Scotia's very own UFO investigator Chris Stiles, Dr. Richard Gallagher, MD, and Lauren Coleman, cryptozoologist. It is for all ages, apparently, and it seems like it's an interesting event. I wouldn't mind going, but that's a bit far for me. I'd also have to get a passport, so there is that. Last one. This one's a little bit closer to home. More than likely, I will be here. The South Carolina Bigfoot Festival, happening October 13th and 14th. And it will be on Main Street in Westminster, South Carolina. Whether you think the concept of an undiscovered primate roaming the mountainsides is far-fetched, or you and Sasquatch on a first-name basis, we have the place to be this fall. Come join us as all things Bigfoot descend on our small upstate town. We are back for the 4th year in 2023 with a street festival style event with live music, event speakers, Bigfoot tales, food and craft vendors, Bigfoot themed contests, children's activities, and more. Rest assured, we are committed to a jam-packed day of Bigfoot fun for the whole family. Please contact us at the button above, right there. If you have any specific questions or concerns. So here's some rules. Doesn't really say what the crafts are or the Bigfoot themed things are. Look at the gallery from last year. So that looks pretty cool. It's like a little country street fair. Got a campfire, presenter. It's probably the speakers. Looks like a good time. See who the vendors are. I might be able to squeeze something in. I don't know. That's a bit last minute, but maybe. Anyway, South Carolina Bigfoot Festival, October 13th and 14th. I will definitely be there. I don't know if I'll be there as a vendor, but I'm definitely going to be there. Well, that's all we have for this week, folks. If you like what you heard, please comment, like, share, and subscribe. All of that does help out the algorithm. If you're a big fan here on YouTube, please make sure to click the notification bell so that way you know when we do upload. I try to upload on the weekends, normally on a Saturday night. Unfortunately, this episode we posted a little late simply because there was a lot more editing than I anticipated. Ran into a few technical difficulties, so we wanted to try to get it out as quickly as I could, so I apologize. Anyway, if you did like what you hear, please comment down in the comment section. Let me know what you did like. If you did not like what you hear, well then I thank you for listening this long. We can be found on most of the social media platforms. That would include Twitter and Facebook at Paranormal Ops 23, and on Instagram and Rumble at Paranormal Operator 23. Our website for the blog and for making reports is paranormaloperator23.com. Email is paranormaloperator23@gmail.com, or if you don't trust Google, you can email us through our website directly, contact@paranormaloperator23.com. Well, folks, until next time, keep searching in the darkness.